Tamar Turner here with the Down to Business Podcast. And so I was actually able to pick the brain of another fellow podcaster today. I sat down with my boy Dayo, host of the SeeSaw Podcast. And so for those of you who know what a seesaw is, you know that essentially it can be hard, but balance can definitely be achieved. So we talked a lot about that with Dayo, not only from the nature of his podcast and some of the guests and the topics that he has, but also, how he doesn't really call it a hiatus that he took from podcasting, but rather him just being a bear in hibernation, but how that hibernation has really set him up for 2022 from the great amount of guests and the great amount of topics that he's going to cover and bring on, and very excited for him and all the growth that he has. But he also, taught me a lot, and I'm sure that you will definitely learn something from this episode. So without further ado, enjoy episode 77, Balancing Perspective. I'd just like to welcome everybody back to another episode of the Down to Business Podcast. And man, this one is going to be a little bit special just because, so I've brought different businesses on who, they have podcasts, they do podcasts, they may even be interested in moving into that podcast space. But my guy Dayo, who I'm sitting down with, he's a podcaster. He literally is the host of the SeeSaw Podcast, started his podcast. We definitely follow each other. I've been tapped in. He was probably one of the most informative people when he first started his podcast. He was giving me knowledge. He was giving me things that I had no idea that were going on. He was keeping us up to date. And for me, it was very impressive for two reasons. One, because I'm not savvy to his field, and I'm going to let him talk about his field and what he does and everything like that. But two, just because of everything that was going on at the time that he started his podcast. We were in the height of everything. And so it was kind of just crazy just to see, all the research that was put in, all the time, all the information. And then the fact that, he still kept it going. He was still consistent with it. So I'm not going to spoil the craft, though. I'm going to let him really rock out. Y'all see he got the mic set up. Y'all see he really official. He really tapped in. So Dayo, how you doing today, bro?
Bro, that was bro. That introduction was heartfelt, bro. That was dope. That was a dope introduction. I was like, wow, okay. Whoever you're talking about sounds like a cool
Man,
guy,
that's
man.
cool dude.
Sound like a cool dude, man. You talking about me? That's cool though. But yeah, man, I'm doing well, bro. Blessed and highly favored, man. Really looking forward to this conversation that we're about to have, man. We're just gonna get to a lot of things because the people who really know me know I can talk about a lot of things, man. Just
Yeah.
random things, man. So yeah, man. Really looking forward to this conversation. I'm also very grateful that you invited me to be like one of your first different spins.
You are
So I
truly the
really
first
appreciate that.
podcaster, bro.
Yeah,
So as grateful as you are
yeah.
to be here, bro, I'm always 10 times, 100 times more grateful for you guys are furthering my vision, bro. So this was obviously, like I said, I started this back in 2019. Didn't really know
It's
that it was
dope.
going to be like this 2 years later. We don't went through a pandemic. We done gone through all of this, and I'm actually celebrating my 2 year anniversary this month. So very excited for that and everything like that. We're
It's
very
dope, my
excited to
God.
have a
It's
fellow
dope.
podcaster on. So yeah, so for everybody tapping in, obviously we're gonna have some people from your side. Obviously we're gonna have some people from my side, but we're gonna have some newcomers. We're gonna have some people far and in between. So can you just tell us, one, a little bit about yourself, and then two, what brings you on the podcast today?
Yeah. So my name is Adada Denny. I'm originally from Nigeria. I was born in Mushin. Born in Lagos. Moved to the United States when I was like 6 years old. Uh, Lived in like Fresno, California. That was the first U.S. city that I lived in was Fresno, Cali. So Cali's like my first U.S. home. That's where I get my laid back personality from, probably honestly. But if people think it's laid back, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, man. So like from there on, like my dad joined the military. We moved around, military brat. Long story short, ended up in North Carolina for like my high school years. Went to East Carolina University. That's where I met Tamar. I met a lot of cool people there too. Got my undergrad. Now I'm in Maryland, DC, DMV area, the M, Maryland. Um, yeah, man, going to UMD College Park right now, getting my master's, and then also working in DC. So that's been for a nonprofit organization. So that's been fun. But I mean, other than that, man, I'm just a really, at least I like to be down to earth, really chilled, respectful type of person. What was the second
Nah,
question?
you knocked both out, and honestly, you actually kind of You did
Yeah,
my job for me. So I was so excited to have you on the podcast. I didn't even give the background as to how we kind of met, but obviously, we went to ECU together. I was
yeah,
definitely able to link with Dayo and just, been together in multiple settings, seen him in multiple settings and interacted with him in multiple settings. But as he said, definitely just that's the vibe that I got, that down to earth, just that humility from him. And just, but honestly, in just talking to him, Brown found out very early on that he was very knowledgeable. That he was just, and not just on one particular subject, but a host of different subjects. And for the things that he didn't know, something I noticed was he was definitely no stranger to inquire, no stranger to asking questions, no stranger to, finding out new information. So when I saw the SeeSaw podcast, I was just like, oh man, I'm excited. What we about to tap into? And then, this little hiatus or
yeah.
whatever you want to call it. But then he posted one picture and it had two words, three if you want to consider it a contraction. He said, I'm back. I said, man, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. I said, I don't know how many people really been tapped into. I don't know how many people really been paying attention, but Tamar been paying attention. Tamar watches, Tamar likes, Tamar loves podcasts. So, but one, just hearing the name SeeSaw Podcast, people might not really know. You know what a seesaw is. It gives you that balance. It gives you that here and everything like that. But can you just, give us a little bit of insight as to the origin, not only of the name, but, what is the SeeSaw Podcast? What can people expect when they're tapping in with you?
Yo, okay, so the Seesaw Podcast. All right, so the idea behind it is kind of like how like like my brothers, we used to be on the seesaw, right? And then like if you ever attempted to like balance the seesaw, like make it like balance, it's kind of tough, but it's possible. And so like whenever I created the podcast, it was around the same time where there was a lot of stuff was going on, and if the world felt imbalanced, it was like 2020, I believe. Yeah, is when I created the podcast, or 2019, something like that. But the world was imbalanced because Trump was president. But like the world was imbalanced, and I was like the Seesaw podcast was kind of like that balance, and with it, man, it's really like I don't know what the plan was with it, honestly. I was like, I'm just gonna create a podcast because I like to talk, and I seem very knowledgeable when I talk. So like at first I was like, okay, I'll just have this podcast and I'll talk about whatever's on my mind. But then I realized that like that's probably going to die old soon. So I was like, I should probably start bringing guests along. So I started bringing people. So basically, my podcast is really like a life story, honestly, actually, because I plan to like have this podcast for the rest of my life. And so like what it is that like when I meet dope people, I want to interview them. Like, just let them just talk. And we could chat about because like I might not be knowledgeable in their area, but I could like do some real quick research enough to like have a conversation with them about that specific thing. So I've had a geologist hop on my podcast. I've had my brother who's a medical student hop on my podcast. I've had a pastor, KP, hop on my podcast. Like I've had a a she's a doctor now, but at the time she was I think Miss Maryland Loren. She hopped on my podcast. I've had a DACA recipient hop on my podcast. She was on my podcast. So this is like just trying to explain like the array of different types of people that I have on my podcast to just I also had a teacher on my podcast. So just that's kind of like my podcast is just I meet dope people, and if they're doing dope things, I want everyone else to hear about it and whatnot.
I love that, and I feel like for as different as our podcast may be in nature and just in name and things like that, I feel like a lot of it stemmed from the same originality, meaning that we recognize that we were surrounded by a lot of dope individuals. We recognize that once you
Right.
bring on those dope individuals, you can only connect to more dope individuals. So the first kind of question that just makes me think of is you've had such a range of people. We talked about a geologist, we talked about a pastor, we talked about a teacher, we talked about people just involved in different areas. So how does that work for you? Do you get like, as far as bringing guests on, as far as the motivation for the ideas or what you kind of want to talk about per episode, does it?
Man,
It's
it's
just random.
random.
Okay.
It's random, right? It really is. It's just how like I mean sometimes it be coordinated. Like if someone like early on in my podcast days, if someone like was to say, "Hey, I want to be on your podcast," I most likely would have said yes because like I mean I was just trying to rack up some episodes in. But like now really it's really mad random. Um like it's how I feel, and if I see somebody or notice something, like for example, I had the podcast episode with the teacher, Randy. Um, like it was mad random because I mean, it wasn't random, but it made sense because there was a lot of conversations about back to school. A lot of conversations about going back to school during the pandemic, and he was a perfect person because I mean he he had a lot of well versed knowledge, and from my experience with him, he I felt like he could articulate the complexity of the situation. So like so yeah, sometimes it'll mesh with like what's currently going on, and sometimes it'll just be random because I just found a dope individual, and I was like, hey, you gotta be on my podcast. And that's it.
Big facts. I'm not gonna lie. That's sometimes how I just hit people in the DMs or how I just, look. I
Yeah,
need you. I followed the page for long enough. I see what you do. I like what you do. Come on, if you with it, I'm with it. Now sometimes it's left on red. Sometimes it's left on delivered. They don't even see it. Other times just like, oh, well, dang, I've been waiting. You know, people love. You know, sometimes people
yeah,
love just talking. You don't really realize the story that people have to tell until you really get them to open up to expose things. So I know my podcast story. I know, you know, the journey that I've shared with people about how I really started in 2019, but how this really started as a Twitter thread, as really far back as 2017. That kind of just got and things like that.
right.
So, how would you, if somebody really, you know, wanted to find out more information about how you really got into the podcasting space? Would you, like you said, I mean, I know you said you love to talk. You very, you know, you love just the knowledgeable aspect of life, just being able to not only know what you know, but being able to, you know, learn different things. So what was really your story? Like, how did you
Right.
really get into the podcasting space? Because I feel like that when you started, whether it be last year, whether it even be the year before that, podcasting was not popular, especially amongst our age group. So how did you really, you know, get into that and then stay consistent with it?
Oh man, that's a great question. But shoot, I don't know, man. I just wanted to do it. Like that's literally the best answer I got, man. I just wanted to do it. Like I was like, I mean, that's really how. Honestly, I wish. That's really how you should look at everything in life. Honestly, man. Sometimes stuff just be random. Like I was just like, yeah, I want to do that. Like I forgot who it was, but like um I was some friend of mine on Instagram. I'm assuming it's an online friend, of course, because I don't actually know them. But someone on my Instagram story got their scuba diving license, and I know for a fact that's something she was just like, I want to do that. Like that's one I just want to learn how to like that was something that she was like, I want to do, and she ended up doing it. Like for me to ask her what her story is, I'm sure she has like a reason why she was like, okay, I'm gonna go scuba diving, but she probably was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, man. So that's just kind of like me, man. Like I was like I used to listen to this one podcast. It was called like 538 or something like that. It's like a political podcast. So I used to listen to them. So that might have been like the inspiration, and also listen to other podcasts may be an inspiration. But I was like, yeah, man, I can like this is not that difficult to do. You just need a mic and like a little host thing, and you're straight. And I was like, and I was also tired of just typing, like Twitter fingers, man. Like I was like, I have so much more to say than like I don't know how many characters is it now, 240 plus characters on Twitter. I don't know, but yeah, I was just like, man, like I need to start verbalizing things, man, because typing it, message you can get arthritis, man. You know.
Get that carpal tunnel, man. And I feel like, you know, sometimes what we put
Yeah,
on the internet, sometimes what we type out and send, it can be misconstrued. People take it in their tone, people in their take it in
facts.
their understanding. People don't really know what you mean. That's why I hate when people like through text or anything like that say like, well, why are you mad? Or like what's or why did you say it like that? Or I hate that's probably my least favorite text. Why did you say it like that? Because my immediate response is gonna be, well, how did I say it? How do you know how I, you know, how do you know how I said a sentence? I could have typed this with the straightest face ever. I could have typed this laughing. I could have typed this, you know, angry. But you
Right.
know, assumed based off of maybe the situation, maybe the conversation, how I felt. So I feel you. Like Drake said, the trigger fingers turn to Twitter finger, or the Twitter, finger, you know, all of that. So it's just
Twitter
like,
fingers too.
yeah, it becomes to a sense where sometimes you just need to get some things off your chest, and sometimes you really need to go. So something immediately that comes to me about the SeeSaw podcast is just that, and I even spoke about it in the introduction, was just how informative it was just how you could tell that this was
Right.
very well thought out. This was fact checked and fact checked again because, you know, you got to be careful with putting things on social media because people quick to look stuff up. People
Yeah.
quick to be like, you know, what's the sources? Where is everything from? So what was really,
Yeah.
what was really the process? You know, when you were releasing these episodes, when you were, how was it for you doing the research? Was a lot of this stuff new to you, and were you kind of just consulting different people? Were you really just learning a lot of this stuff for the first time? Was some of this knowledge that you already had, did it vary based off the subject? What was that like?
Yeah. So I'm a nerd. Let me just put it that way. I am a wait. Is it a nerd or a geek? Is a nerd is a smart one. A geek is like someone who's just like into anime and stuff. So like I'm a nerd. I'm a big nerd, big time nerd, man. So like I'm a political nerd as well. I'm just a life nerd. But yeah, so like the way that I'm able to like gather information for like my podcasts and stuff like that is literally just by watching random YouTube videos about random things. Like I literally replaced the encyclopedia with with a with YouTube. So like I just be learning random stuff, and I'm subscribed to a lot of like political really great content politically on YouTube. So I watch them obviously enough to like to just digest them, but still come with my own opinions, of course, because they have their own perspective. But yeah, I mean, not to like pat myself on the back or anything, but like it's really just because it's my craft. Like this is what I am. So it's not that hard for me to be able to like just get on the podcast and talk about this because that is who I am at the end of the day, you know?
Feel that, and you definitely look. I'm gonna pat myself for you. So look, you gotta do that, bro. Like I said, a lot of the some of the things that I was reading, some of the things that I was seeing, some of the things that I was finding out for the first time, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. Especially when at the height of Trump's presidency, it was just like that. But to me, it was just like whereas everything was just coming. It was you check the explore page, it was one thing. You check somebody else's story, it was another thing. You being
Right.
somebody close friends, they'd be saying something totally different. You go to Twitter, totally different ball game. You go to Facebook. Facebook live a different world, so you know how that go. And then LinkedIn just try to keep it as
Yeah.
professional as possible. So you know the fact that you found a platform, the fact that you really found something to capitalize on is cool to me. So being that you're such heavy into the political space as you said, being that you started this and you were kind of doing this and continuing this and being
Yeah.
consistent with this during Trump's presidency, did that shape your approach
Yeah.
at all to how you released episodes to the information that you gave out or anything or like
Yeah, man, because like during that time, man, you had to be like pinpoint because there was a lot of hashtag fake news or this and that. Man, it was yeah, man. It was a time where you had literally had to be pristine, and I wasn't even. I'm nobody, man. Like, and I'm trying to make sure I'm pristine in regards to like making sure that the information I'm giving out is accurate enough and like valid. And like yeah, I mean, when I think about it, man, like it's so funny, it's so hilarious actually, because one of my podcast episodes, because the election was in November, and then one of my podcast episodes, I had because I'm trying to think of the months that come before November. What are the months that come from before November?
got October, September, August,
Okay, okay,
July.
okay, okay, okay. So September. Okay, so September. I think I released a podcast on September literally explaining and detailing what Donald Trump would try to do to try to overtake the elections. He would, because to me, it was obvious what was going. He was literally saying it, like he was telling the whole world what he was planning to do. But like, if you didn't know like the policy levers of government, of governance and stuff like that, you wouldn't peep that like this man is actually telling you that if he win or lose, like if he loses, he is not going to concede. Like he's already told you that. And so my podcast episode, like maybe 2 months before the insurrection and stuff like that, like I already explained what was going to happen because I saw it, and then it happened. So I was like, wow, okay, well that's I don't know. Sometimes it's like it's just well informed guessing because like one of the I guess one of the biggest things I'm actually really actually proud of myself for was was guessing the 2020 elections pretty closely. um like I even guessed the Georgia runoffs correctly and stuff like that, and that's just merely coming from a place of just like gathering as much information and data as possible. And then um and then we could just talk about literally this one most recent elections that was on the national news, the Virginia election. I had a guess that the what's his name, uh, Terry McAuliffe or whatever, the Democrat for that was running for the governor, would win by like 0.5%. And I also said in my guess that like I'm not very confident in this because the Republican, he was actually running if people were paying attention, he was actually running a very, very great campaign. Not a campaign that I would have supported, of course, but a campaign that I could tell, like, yo, this man is moving some levers in Virginia, especially in these red areas. And so I noticed that. So like that's why for my prediction, I was saying the Democrat might win by 0.5% because I knew it was gonna be tight. Like this was gonna be a very, very tight election, and I wasn't confident in my pick. So the Glenn Youngkin ended up winning, the Republican for Virginia. He's now the governor. I think the Republicans also took the House in Virginia, stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see what they can do with both the governorship and the House in Virginia, because I don't know if they have the Senate or not, but I don't think they do. But so so Glenn Youngkin, he won the Virginia governor's race because a lot of people be talking about like polarization, man. Like this country's so polarized, this polarized that, like we can't all get along, whatever, all these other stuff. And like for me, it's like a simple word that's just like masking what's really going on, man. Like the polarization in this country is literally just racism. It's like it is a country that saw 4 years of Trump, saw the insurrection that happened with Trump, saw all the racial stuff that came from it. We got the Ahmaud Berry situation. We got the Rittenhouse situation. We got the George Floyd situation. We got Breonna Taylor situation. Like there was so much that happened in like 2020 that really was to white America was a surprise. Like, oh my days, this stuff happens in our country. Oh no, I can't fathom the country that I love, the red, white, and blue, is killing innocent people in its homeland. Oh my days. So they woke up and they were like, whoa, like something's got to happen. But there still is a fraction of this country that believes nothing should happen. There's a huge fraction of this country who doesn't believe that like structural racism is a thing. They don't believe that. They don't think that anything should be done. Let's just keep the same as it is. So that's really what the polarization is that like there's a section of white America that wants to do something about his racist history, and there's a section of white America who doesn't give a damn about his racist history, right? You could tell us all you want about it, but who cares? So that's where this whole conversation about critical race theory comes from. Like that's why Glenn Youngkin was able to run on that, saying, "Do you really want that thing to be taught in your schools? Do you really want to be taught America's racist history?" Like it was like the whole Virginia race, governor race, and all the races there were all about education, but it was masked it was really honestly all about race, but it was masked in education and like parent choice in regards to like, can parents choose what the school districts teaches? But really what it's about is that my school district is not going to teach my white child that here at Tubman shot some slave masters to free some black people. Like I don't want my white child to learn that. It's like, so at the end of the day, it's like people don't realize that like really what's going on is some racism. Like this is some racist stuff going on. And and so so then there was, it's not surprising to me. I remember, I want to make sure I get the data right, because I remember seeing this tweet. Is that this thing is interesting. So let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, yeah, okay. So in the Virginia 2020 election, right, the one where Biden and Trump went ahead against each other, right? Biden won white woman by 50%. Trump won him by 49%, right? White woman, right? This year in 2021, the Republican Glenn Youngkin won white women by 57%, and the Democrat won them by 43%. So there was like a 15-point swing to the GOP in this specific demographic group, which is white women, right? And that again points to the whole aspect of education being such a big part of this race, because when you talk about education, you're really talking to women. Like women are the one who's going to be caring about this, especially suburban women, right? And education is a day old white dog whistle trope of racist. It is because it gets to the anyways. But anyways, so yeah, if you dig a little deeper, right, you get like, okay, so white women with college degrees, right? With college degrees, right? So in Virginia in 2020, you had like 58% of white women with degrees voted for Biden. 41% voted for Trump. This year, 62% voted for McAuliffe, the Democrat. 38% voted for Glenn Youngkin. So you see here, white women with degrees were overwhelmingly more supportive of the Democrat for this year. So the thing that's really going on is white women without a college degree. So white women without a college degree voted for Donald Trump in 2020, Virginia, 56%, and Biden 44%. This is 2020. White women without a college degree voted for Glenn Youngkin, 75% in this race, 2021, 75%, with 25% voting for the Democrat McAuliffe. That's white women without a college degree. That is incredible because the reality is that the way that they were able to get some, because they've been trying to get suburban white women back, the Republicans. They lost them because of Donald Trump and his misogyny. So they've been trying to get white women back, suburban, college educated, non-educated. Just they've been trying to get white women back into their tent. Republicans have. So if they can get white women back by just saying critical race theory, and you as a white woman, you care about your kids and what your kids learn. You don't want your kids to learn about this, and it galvanizes white women to go and vote. They're gonna keep on saying the same thing. So I expect this to be a 2020, like 2022 midterm topic. I expect critical race theory to be on the minds and on the ballot box come next November 2022 because it's already shown evidence that it works. Because you were able to get suburban, non-educated white women into your camp just by saying that. And so it'll be 2022 will be interesting because the suburbs isn't only white women, there's also black women as well. So like black women are also gonna be in the ability to like counteract that. Because with the way that I see 2022, the way that I'm seeing how it's gonna go, if this critical race theory conversation really sticks and stuff like that, is that the 2022 is gonna be a really a layered down deep past all the noise. It's going to be an election between black women and white women, like layered down deep into it, because there are going to be black women who live in the suburbs who want their children to learn about America's racist past. They're going to vote in droves because that's what they want America to teach every child about racism. Like black women are also mothers too. So it's just interesting to me that it's white mothers that are the ones really pushing the needle, as if they're the only mothers in this country. There are black mothers, Hispanic mothers, Native American mothers, who would definitely love the the classes and the daughters and children and sons to learn about America's racist past. So it's just interesting to me because it's like 2022 is gonna be mad interesting because for I don't know how the Democrats can counter it because critical race theory it taps into like a weird misogynistic slash racist trope in white women. It strikes into that, and like it's hard to counter it too because again it hasn't really been defined. Like the definition of it is like master's level, right? But like it's been so simplified to mean your child is going to be learning about Nat Turner. When your child has literally, honestly, been learning about Nat Turner, not in the most correct and like the way that I would want my child to learn about Nat Turner, not the way that I learned about him, that's for sure. But like, I don't know, it's just weird, man. It's like it's just stuff like that is what I be peeping, man. It's just stuff like that. My bad, I got into a whole monologue.
What you saying? My bad for this. Look, you didn't taught me some stuff. If I wouldn't look crazy, I would have pulled out the pad and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Some stuff now but that's real statistics, bro. Statistics, that numbers don't lie, man.
They don't, bro.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't though. So it's just like just to hear all of that, and just to know what we're living in, the time that we're living. And I actually saw kind of like a meme about critical race theory, like saying how basically now, like before, it was this thing of bring it out, like let's figure it out. And now it's just like, oh, now that it's come up in conversation, oh, everybody wants to kind of whitewash it or
Hmm.
sugarcoat it or just do their own thing with it. But so no, bro, the fact that somebody is so informative about it, the fact that somebody is so tapped in with it, is great for me. The fact that you can pull those numbers up like that, the fact that you can know that, but the fact that you can not only just say that, but for me, I was more so just analyzing, just thinking, just like, wow, like that's crazy. Like you don't think about things like that, but when you do, when you really start to, connect the dots and put the pieces of the puzzle together, it's like that makes sense though. But can you see why? Can you look at the time that we're living in? Look at what's going on. Look at
Yeah, man.
just the miseducation, the misinformation. Like we said, the fake news, just everything that is constantly spreading and constantly going back and forth. It's hard to decipher what's what and what's real. But I feel I like the path that you've taken because it's just like, look, you recognize that there's so much information out there, so much
There
of what could
is.
be right, so
There's a
much of what
lot
could
of
be
stuff
wrong,
going on.
so much of what could be lost in far and in between. But you do your own research, you figure things out, you come to your own conclusions, you make your own things. So I love that, bro. And for you saying that you feel like you ramble, you feel like you went off. For me, bro, I hear the passion. I hear the you pulling up the thread, you pulling up, using a screenshot, you did everything. Bro. I love that. It's just because it's just like, yo, you found your niche. You found, you were always one to know education, to love knowledge, to appreciate
Right.
the ability to, you can admit that you don't know it all. You can admit that there's still more to learn. You can admit that times are changing. People are going to be people. But the fact that you can then take all the education, take everything that you've learned, analyze, research, and make your own conclusions, be right
Right.
about things, predict things, and everything like that. It's cool to me, bro. So all in all, like what? So what would you say with the SeeSaw podcast, with everything that you've been doing so far, with everything that you're going to continue to do? What do you love most about it? What do you love most about this? What do you love most about your craft? What do you really enjoy about it?
It's funny. The monologues are actually quite episodic. I don't really do them often for episodes. What I actually enjoy the most is interviewing other people, man. Like talking to other people about random stuff, like just whatever. That's why I really enjoy, because it's like the goal of my podcast is like to interview cool people. So like it's almost as if like I've already like instilled in my life already the idea of like meeting people, because the only way I can get more podcast guests is by meeting. I can't be an introvert and have this podcast. I can't. It's impossible. Like I'm not gonna have any episodes. Like I got to be somewhat extroverted. Although I could be an introvert like deep down, but I gotta be somewhat extroverted to to be able to sustain this podcast. So that's one thing I really do enjoy, is that like I just get to meet. I just love meeting people, man, because people just come like just I don't know, man. I be it's my physiological what I don't know physiological. I don't know what the word is, but
Yeah, physiologically.
yeah. Hey, English is my second language, so sometimes things happen, man. So yeah, man. So like it's crazy because like you be thinking about like, bro, we just all come from like different backgrounds, man. It's mad. It's just so like that right there just blows my mind, because like I can live my life like with this certain perspective, and like everything I've experienced is like as is shaped me to who I am, and then I meet this other individual who has experienced everything that's completely different from me, and it's shaped them into who they are. Like we might end up having the same ideas and same beliefs and stuff like that, but like we don't have the same experiences whatsoever. That's so crazy to me. Like even twins don't have the same experiences because they gotta separate somehow, you know. So it's like it's just so crazy to me. So like that's the dopest part about it, is just meeting new people, man, and just like chatting it up with dope people and seeing like and see what else and seeing what they themselves can teach me. Because like the interview that I had with the geologist Emma, like I learned so much about rocks, bro. Like I didn't know rocks were actually kind of like they're kind of cool. Like I mean, could I, no disrespect to her, she's a geologist. She's smart as rocks. She's you know. So like she's smart, bro. But like I personally couldn't sit here and like think to myself like, oh, I'm gonna like be passionate about rocks. But like, it's mad dope that there is somebody out there that is, and it's mad dope that this person is a black woman. Like that makes it even more dope, you know. Like so it's like, and then through it, I learned more about rocks, and like there's actually a lot of stuff, cool stuff that's going on with rocks and minerals. Like minerals is a whole nother conversation. So it's like stuff like that, bro. I never would have like learned about. And then when I interviewed KP and like his whole pastor self, like I was just learning more about God. I'm a Christian, and like the way that this denominational Christian, but like, but like, but I don't know, like I'm still on my own path through faith and stuff like that. you know. So I have my moments and I have my times, but I'm definitely a Christian and everything like that. So it was dope hearing from from the basically a pastor, like, and just hearing him give testimony, because it was basically like going to church for me at that moment in time while I was listening to this podcast. I mean, to while I was when we had the conversation, it was like going to church, and I was able to ask him questions that me myself, questions that I have, even with someone with a man of faith. I still have questions, you know. I was able to ask him, and I'm sure like some of my listeners probably have the same similar questions, you know. So, so it's just like that, man. It's just having different experiences with like different people, man. It's just mad dope. So, and if you haven't figured out, dope is my favorite word.
Hey, man, I love it a lot, man. And truly, it's just like I feel like I don't know if it's just something that's respective to the podcast space, which I highly doubt, but something that I really just second. And I agree with a lot of your sentiments, bro. I agree that there. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to have somebody come on and talk about their passion.
Right,
The fact that you came on here, got political with me today, but you didn't get political with me in a sense where you're trying to just throw your views out on people and things like that. You got political with me from a factual standpoint, from just here is what it is. Here are the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Like
right,
but it's been interesting with this whole podcast with me and just the space that I'm in, because it's beautiful to hear that everybody has a different craft and everybody just loves what they do, but everybody is so knowledgeable. And I've talked to people in the bodybuilding frame of things. I've talked to people in the makeup frame of things, in the clothing brand frame
right,
of things, in a nonprofit charter school frame. It's just like I've learned so much, and it's amazing. And it's just like I don't want to stop. I want to keep bringing on different individuals. For me, life is all about perspective. That's one of my favorite like words. I love perspective. I love the
right,
fact that we can be in the same realm or the same earth or the same world or live in the same time, but experience things totally different. And
right,
I just love that. And the sooner that I realized that, the sooner that I not only realized but accepted it, the sooner life just I feel like a different outlook just
right,
came for me. The moment I realized, opinion is okay. It's okay to disagree. It's okay for people to not agree with you. It's okay for people to not even like what you do in a sense.
right,
It just made it that much more better, that much more beautiful. So I love that. So thinking about the space that you're in, thinking about the SeeSaw podcast, something that I'm very interested in, and I'm not really sure how much people know or will know, but for a while, you weren't podcasting, you weren't doing what you were doing, you took a little break or whatever like that. So, like I said, the biggest thing for me, it kind of reminded me of The Last Dance and Michael Jordan when he pretty much sent that letter and was just like, "Yo, I'm back. Like it's time. Like let's get this rocking." So, what was that really like? One, not only just having to step aside from and I'm not even. You don't even really have to get into why maybe you stepped aside or what that
yeah,
was. But what was it really like? Giving up something, not giving up, but taking a break from something that you were really passionate about, something that you
right,
really were gung ho about and were very all forward about, and then
yeah,
coming back to it.
yeah.
Was it just like? Did you feel like you were born again? Did you feel like it was time to really make it happen? What really made you relock back in with the SeeSaw podcast?
Oh man, I mean, literally, I was just only gone because of school, man. Like it was just that master's degree, boys.
Hey man, hey, as somebody with a master's degree, I'm with you 100.
Yeah,
percent I
man.
feel you. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so like that master's degree was making it close to impossible to like really just do the thing I really wanted to do, like the way I want to do it, you know. So like so and on the top of that, man, a friend of mine, shout out to Toast World, Toasty, a friend of mine told me that your hobby should never be a job, you know. And so like I took that to heart, and I was like, why am I pressed to send out episodes? Like this is a hobby. Like when I feel like it, I'm gonna do it. That's yeah. That's just kind of like that's the kind of mentality where I got now was from it. Was of course like I would of course would have more time if I wasn't in school, but I wasn't like disappointed in myself for not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but um, but yeah, I would look for and then when I said I was back, I really thought I was back. I really did. And I did one episode right after I said I was back. I think I did two episodes after I said I was back. But then school came back. So I've been on another hiatus. I haven't dropped an episode in a minute. The only last episode I would drop was with my brother because we're talking about the pandemic again. Um, but like I haven't dropped an episode. I don't plan to drop an episode until I graduate, honestly. In May 2022. So once I graduate in May 2022, boy, trust me, I got some episodes lined up, man. Some cool people. I'm gonna talk. Got this basically he's honestly already a millionaire in my opinion, knowing the man. I'm gonna have this guy come on and talk about Bitcoin. I got this man. He's locked in with the politics of Detroit. Um, very very much locked in. I ain't gonna say his name yet because I don't want to ruin it, but he's gonna come on my podcast. Like I got a bunch of people that I've met like. For that whole duration, I haven't been able to drop an episode. Just been meeting people, man. I've met people in the UK. There's some people I'm thinking about like hopping onto my podcast to talk about football because I think there will be some people who are my podcast audience would enjoy, um, you know, learning a little bit about football. Also learning about somebody from the UK, So like I'm starting to, I suppose, branch out internationally a little bit with like the people I know, and that's honestly through Clubhouse. That app was pretty smooth in regards to like learning some international people, but I kind of stayed with soccer with my international people, and then like now when I go to England, they're already granting me a place to stay, and like they're already telling me where we're gonna hang out with and stuff like that. It's like it's just mad dope. And like going to Paris soon and all that stuff. So yeah, man. So yeah. That's kind of like explains my whole hiatus from the podcast. It's really nothing like a caterpillar in a cocoon type of thing. It's really like a bear in hibernation. I'm sleep. I'm just I don't got time, boy.
Look, hey, look, like I said, I ain't grad school a different
Yeah.
monster. I had to experience that myself, and my program was only 13 months, accelerated track, but
Whew.
it was just, yeah, it was crazy. So I already know, but the fact that something that you really spoke about, something that was really that hit home for me was it's a hobby, so you want it to be something that's fun, something
Right.
that's enjoyable. You don't want to feel like you're laboring over this. You don't
Yeah.
want to feel like people are you're doing this not even for yourself anymore. You're doing this because people are expecting you to do things. No, I tweeted this on my 1 year anniversary, and I mean this wholeheartedly. The moment I stop having fun with it, I'll be done with it. The moment I don't get on here and crack a smile, the moment I'm editing and I'm just like, yo, like this is terrible. The moment I'm just like I'm miserable. My life, oh, I'm done. Down the business is over. But I don't ever see that happening because, like I said,
Yeah,
I get to
man.
talk to people like this with different mindsets, different perspectives. It's beautiful, bro. So, you feel like there's anything? Do you feel like there's anything out there that any misconceptions that you want to debunk, whether it just be about podcasts, or whether it be about the nature of your podcast and what you've done, whether it be about just moving forward with your thinking? Is there anything that you feel like people may not know that you kind of want to clarify or clear up or make clear? Or is there anything, even I would say, is there even a message that you have for people out there, whether they be fellow podcasters looking to get into the podcast space, or just people who enjoy listening to podcasts, who enjoy kind of tapping into different sessions, who enjoy kind of the subject matter that you dive into a lot of times?
Man, it's not even about podcasts. This is about life in general, man. Like if you, if you come across something that you like, you think you could do well in, I would say go for it, man. Like that's just me. Like just go for it. I mean, like being human is just full of experiences. Like experiences you fail and experiences that you succeed in, and something that you think you might not be good at, you end up actually being really really good at. You know, so it's like it's just really like for real like just go for whatever you like you really want to like you that you're really about, man, for real. And like and another thing is like one thing that I'm starting to learn is to like appreciate yourself, man. you know um like we do a lot in this world. We've been doing a lot for a minute. It feels like ever since the pandemic we haven't gotten a single break. Like it's like we all just want like maybe a whole month or three of just like nothing, just nothing. And I know for sure, boy, I need something like that, boy. God, man, 3 months of just nothing, boy. That would be lovely.
He said, "I'm gonna come back a
I
new
would come
man."
back
At least like a
out
bear
a new
hibernation.
man, a new human being. Like I might mess around and find the cure for cancer for real, boy. Like what? Okay, but yeah, man. Like just the point is, man. Like the point is that if you if you feel like you like there's something that you like been itching to do, or like just like whatever goal you got for yourself, man, like go for it, man. Like for real, because like I know everyone says it. Everyone literally says it. Like you are your own enemy. But that's literally true. Like it's literally true because like no one but you dictates what you can do. Like literally it's just you. All right. And I know there's a bunch of like external factors that can like that go into like um whether or not someone like can really meet their goals. I know that. And I know like it sometimes comes from a privileged land of saying, hey, you gotta go for it. You know, like it comes from it can. That I understand that point. But I'm just talking about like in general, because not all goals are like monetary. Like a goal can be as simple as like being able to communicate with your loved ones better. Like if that's a goal of yours, like go for it. Like go take all the steps, necessary steps that you need to take to be able to build up your communication skills so you can talk to your loved ones better. Like if your goal is meditating, which is one of my goals actually, take the steps necessary to meditate. You know, like just like one of the things is that we have all these goals and we're just like saying my goal is to do this, my goal is to do that. We have big goals, small goals, like personal development goals and stuff like that. And like we just say them, but like we never take the steps to like get there. Like take those steps and you'd be surprised. Like you'd be like, wow, actually, whoa, I didn't know I was gonna meet this goal. Next thing you know, you're meeting a bigger, better goal. So that's just me.
A fact. That's just you, but that's a fact, bro. I think that, and I think even in a sense, you just gave people a call to action. You gave people, we think about things a lot. We have things that we want to work on, like you said. We have things that we could be doing
Right.
better on. We have things that we're ignoring in a sense. So, but stop ignoring things. Stop putting things off. Stop the procrastination, and really just do it. It's not to say that it's going to get done overnight. It's not to say that you're going to do it when you want to, how you want to, exactly on your terms. Sometimes it's on God's
Right.
terms. Sometimes it's on other terms. Sometimes it's not going to happen exactly when you need it to, but sometimes it's just going to happen. So no, I love every bit of that, bro. Whatever you feel like you could be doing better. Nobody is perfect. There's always room for improvement, especially with the time that we're in. We have so much time, sometimes to work on
Mhm.
ourselves. But then other ways you might feel like that time is limited, that the days are just moving by, that the weeks are flying, that time is just escaping you. So sometimes you just have to take a
Right.
step back and say, whoa, what's really going on here? What do I need to do? What could I be doing? What am I not doing? What should I be working on? What are other people? Sometimes it takes that
Yeah.
self reflection. I think that that's so important. I was talking to a friend of mine about that, about how sometimes we can be scared of self reflection. We can be scared to admit our own
Right.
downfalls and fallacies and just what we lack in, just because nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to talk about what they're bad at. Nobody wants to talk about what other people call them
Right.
out for. But in a sense, where how do you grow? How do you get better? If you don't want to talk about that, if you don't want to admit to that, accept that, or anything along those lines, well, so what are you saying? Are you perfect? Like something that I say to people, when they apologize to me, or when they just feel a certain type of way about certain things, or maybe even apologizing for how they feel or how they've been acting. I'm just like, okay, just because I disagree with you, just because I may not like it, just because it may not have been what I would have done in the situation, it does not invalidate how you did it. I can disagree all day long. You still did what you did. You still have felt how you felt. You're still a human being. So for me, sometimes it's all about, like you said, even about celebrating yourself, recognizing. I think that that's so important. I think that we go day in and day out. We do some
Right.
good things. We don't realize sometimes we don't take the time to even think that we woke up this morning, that we're breathing, that we can move our limbs, that we have limbs to move, that we have clothes on
Right.
our back, that we are able to record. We have the technology to do so, that we're in just such a prime position. Whereas it's some other people out here literally fighting for
Right.
survival, day after day after day after day after day. So you never. I talked about this on previous episodes about how sometimes we can be one wrong decision away
Nah,
from
man, for
homelessness,
real.
one mischeck away from not knowing what's going on, one wrong decision away from
Yeah.
prison, or one wrong decision. You hate to think about things like that, but that's
Yeah,
the
that's
true reality
reality,
of life.
man.
Sometimes I think we get so caught up in the moment. We get so caught up in how things are just good for us, about how we're just living this good life. We're in America. We have people that can do certain things. We can wake up every day and get in our cars and drive to work, and work a
Right.
job and work a 9 to 5 and put in hours and get paid. It's all of this just little stuff that when you look at it from the outside looking in, it's just like, damn, like I'm really blessed. I'm really, really blessed. So I love that you really hit on the point like that. So before we close things out, before we tell people where they can find you, where they can tap in with the podcast, whether you coming back next year or this year, it doesn't matter. We're
Man.
gonna get right with you. But do you feel like there's anything we haven't talked about today? Anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to just leave the people with? Anything that they can look forward to? Even a message? I know you kind
Yeah.
of gave us a message already.
Oh man, I might
Anything?
get a little political real quick. Okay, so man, how do I put this? Like 2022. All right, so let me put it this way, man. So I know for a lot of folks who know me, and I know a lot of folks that I know as well, are not hoping and they pray into God they never see that orange man um, again in the White House. I know they are, and the likelihood of him being there, and this is just my own educated guess. The likelihood of him being there is very small, but I will say one thing though is that Joe Biden, if he's not careful, like if he's not careful, and the Democrats are not careful, they may make themselves vulnerable and make the whole country vulnerable to him coming back. Um, because this country is racist. Like it's funny because like we think that because Donald Trump is no longer in office that like the racism in this country just turned off. Like people still elected this man. like like he was elected in 2016. You think in 2021, which is a 4 year, 5 year difference, the racism just goes away in America? That the xenophobia just goes away in America? Like come on, let's just be serious here. So for me, it's just more of an element of like if we feel too comfortable because we don't have to worry about Donald Trump anymore, it might lead him right back to him. Yeah, so that's kind of like my bigger message from a political sense is that there are things. Well, it's also why I'm this whole like I just hope and pray that Joe Biden and the Democrats get their act together. There's a lot of stuff going on that is Joe Biden's fault. That is a lot of stuff that's going on that's progressive's fault. There's a lot of stuff that's going on that blame can be felt all around. And but like the biggest thing is that like there is this 1.5 trillion dollar uh, social spending bill. That's also part of these infrastructure bill, right? Let's forget about the infrastructure bill. So the the 1.5 trillion dollars, it used to be 3.5 trillion dollars. It used to be actually ten trillion dollars, right? So the interesting thing that I actually learned in my one of my policy classes that I was like, wow, why don't they tell this to every other uh, um, uh, person that why does the media not talk about this, right? Is that when we think about okay, 1.5 trillion dollars, we're like, okay, that must be how much it cost. The reality is that that is so far from it, like so far from it, because each that whole bill is gonna be the money being spent is gonna be spent through agencies, through public agencies, and everything like that, right? So each agency really knows, like for example, right, the child tax credit, right? Whoever, whatever agency, the IRS, whoever all other agencies are in charge of that, right? Whatever agencies there are, they know how much this thing is actually going to cost, right? In like 10 years, they know how much it's going to cost in a 10 year period. With and you who is also like the aide for a senator or a representative or whatever, you know how much this program is going to cost in 10 years. What you're really trying to do is how do you tell the person that you work with, which might be a senator representative, this is how you politically say what this is in a way that your constituents can digest it, because you can't tell them what the full price is. But if you can like do your whole political savvy thing and tell them that it's 1.5 trillion dollars, so they don't think that like, oh my god, it's a lot of money, although it really shouldn't be a lot of money. It's social spending. But like this that 1.5 trillion dollars is a facade. I'm gonna just let you guys know right off the bat, because on top of that, like a lot of the programs are quote unquote temporary, right? Like the vision, the hearing aid, and like some other programs like the child tax credit, I believe, is temporary for like after you reach after a income bracket, right? Those are all temporary, quote unquote. But the reality is that like those types of programs that actually help people, like people are gonna have like $300 extra, up to $300. It might be more because of how many children they have and the age of the kids, but like people are going to have up to at least, at the very least, $300 in their accounts every month, right? And like we have also like some stuff that's dealing with childcare as well. Like these are very very like social programs, and like with social programs, if you make them like temporary, like you give them a time limit, it gives a facade that like it's cheaper, right? But in the long run, it's not. Like because the reality is that like those type of programs are not going to go away. So, like the same way with Social Security. Like I'm sure it had its own people who were like, "Why are you doing this?" Next thing you know, now you can't even take it away. You can't even take it away. Same with Medicare, Medicaid. Like there was the same thing. Like they all got earthed the same way where it was cool to some people, wasn't cool to a lot of people. It got implemented. People were complaining. Ended up being the best thing people loved. Like same with Obamacare, right? It got implemented. People were hating on it. What is this? What is this? My state rights, state rights. This a black man is doing this. Like they were just like all over the place with this. You know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, people don't want to get in the way because of what was it again? Pre-existing conditions. The people love the pre-existing conditions in Obamacare. Like it's just I don't know, people, it's just people in general, man. But like they're just social programs tend to stick if they actually help people. And so that's what hopefully the Democrats are understanding, and hopefully they pass this bill, because if they can like shift the narrative away from that critical race theory stuff, right? Away from all that racist dog whistle stuff that the Republicans are trying to go with in the culture wars, right? If they can switch the conversation into like policies that are actually helping people, and then on top of that, they have Donald Trump. Donald Trump. He's a very very interesting figure because Glenn Youngkin won. If I think realistically speaking, I think Trump would have been in a better position had the Democrat had won Virginia, but because Glenn Youngkin won without him, like he was like, I'm Trump is my advocate, but he didn't really let it be known that he was a Trump. Like that was like he got an endorsement for Trump. He didn't let it know. He just let it slide underneath so all the red meat of his base could know about it. But like people who were may not have been so privy into like the Trump world and all the other stuff, they would not have known. You know what I'm saying? Like he got an endorsement from Donald Trump and would have like and stuff like that. So he kind of like kept his kept a big a lot of feet away from Donald Trump. So like, and he won. He won counties, rural counties, more than Donald Trump won those same counties when he ran for president. So it's interesting because usually when a Republican wins, Donald Trump, you already hear Donald Trump taking all the credit. And I'm sure he took some of the credit. But it was interesting, a quote that I remember reading Donald Trump. I don't remember it word for word, bar for bar. But essentially he was saying that like he was basically, congratulating um, Glenn Youngkin for winning, and he was saying Glenn Youngkin won because of him, and then he was saying something about although a lot of people think that he won not because of me, he won because of me. Knowing Donald Trump and just been the way he's been is that he knows good and well that there was a lot of people who don't believe that Youngkin won because of him. So he had his egotistical stuff had to let it be known. No, he won because of me, and y'all saying that he won not because of he won without me. Y'all are wrong. It wasn't for me. The MAGA is the reason why he won. You know what I'm saying? So there's some truth to it, but there isn't some truth to it because MAGA is not the reason why he won the suburbs. MAGA may be the reason why he won rural Virginia that was bordering West Virginia and stuff like that, but it was not the reason why he won the suburbs. So because if suburbs didn't vote for you, so it's just like okay, there's something definitely else going on. That so it's gonna be interesting the conversations that Republicans like Mitch McConnell and Mitch Romney and all these other Republicans, the more establishment Republicans, are gonna have about what they do with Trump. Because I promise you, if the Democrats stick to what they're doing well with regards to like this build back better bill, right? And they actually implement it and they pass it through and they do other stuff such as voting rights and student loans and all these other stuff, right? After it, and they can shift the narrative to like talking about those policy issues, and then you have Republicans having to debate with them amongst themselves about whether or not Donald Trump like what like and just a a fight amongst Republicans about what is Donald Trump's role in the Republican Party, because he's not going to be effective in every state. A state like Pennsylvania, he might not be effective. He might bring out more people might do more harm than good. But he's egotistical, and it's a 2022 election. He's going to want all the attention on himself. So it's going to be an interesting 2022 election, man, because like is really, if the Democrats really just stop being, I don't know what the heck they're being right now. If they just stop doing that, um, and actually put some stuff down and like pass stuff and do stuff, 2022 can actually look a lot better than they think. But if they just act too confident and too comfortable, it might not look good. And if it might not look good, and then 2024 might not look even good at all.
He
Yeah.
said it could get crazy. Yeah. But no, bro, you definitely bring up a lot of good points. Even a few people on my IG live were definitely resonating with things you were saying, just about reality, what to really look forward to, what the
Yeah,
time that
man.
we're
It's
living in, man.
crazy.
It's just crazy. Sometimes you just gotta take a step back and really
Yeah, we're
just
living in
realize
no
what's going
cap. We're
on.
living in a time where like our kids, our grandkids are gonna be asking us about this. Like that's the type of time we're living in. Like for real, for real. It's crazy.
People think it's a joke when we say, yeah, we're
Nah,
gonna be in
nah,
like history books and
for
things
real.
like that. I firmly believe it, bro. If we already not, I haven't really seen the curriculum these days about the middle schoolers and high schoolers, but
Yeah,
I firmly believe it like that. This is really, stuff that we're going to talk about, stuff that we're going to learn about. So I appreciate you, just for giving us I feel like you gave me at least an inside scoop, an inside look. Just you made me even want to learn more, just be more cognizant of what's going on around me and not just be so ignorant to the politics and what's going on and who is running for what and what really their campaign is and who came before them, but also not forgetting what we were once experiencing, what it was at ECU
yeah,
when Trump was president, being in the deep south, as some may call it, at a PWI in the middle of the easternmost North Carolina, in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes it felt like, so where nobody was really on your side. So I thank you for that, bro. I thank you for the diligent work that you're doing day in and day out, dog. I'm excited, not only for what you've done already, but I'm excited for the 2022. I'm excited to see, really what you're going to get into, who you're going
yeah,
to bring
bro.
on, the conversations that you're going to have. Because 2022 is only a month away. You really think about it. So I'm excited, bro. But definitely wishing you,
Appreciate it.
nothing but the best of luck. I appreciate, the fact that you wanted to come on here, be a part of the vision, be my real first podcast to really come on here and get people the real. But at the same time, you're still getting your education. You're still doing things on your end. You're still making it happen. So I love that for you. So before we officially close out, before we wrap things up, for anybody, just interested in learning more about what you have going on, for anybody interested in even tapping into the previous episodes and really just finding out the mantra of everything and how you got started, can you just give us, your social media, the best ways to get in contact with you, the best ways to follow along the journey
Yeah.
with you?
Okay. So, obviously, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast. The SeeSaw Podcast is on Apple Music, not Apple Music, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, and Podbean. So that's the best way to subscribe to my podcast, the SeeSaw Podcast. And then also, of course, to have the social medias of it is I have the Instagram, the SeeSaw Podcast, and also the Twitter, the SeeSaw Podcast. It's the same thing. Nothing really spectacular, special about that. But if you want to follow my personal Instagram, it is the greatest underscore African. Um, so that's my personal Instagram. I'm more active on there than I am on my podcast social media. Um, but but yeah, so yeah, man, that's where you can like get in touch with me and stuff like that. Is to those three online platforms. So my podcast Twitter, podcast Instagram, and my personal Instagram.
Bet. All right. Well, y'all heard it from the IG Live. I'm gonna obviously put it in the bio when the episode is published. You think he's slick too? He tried to join my IG Live after I seen him. I believed it. But no. In serious note, Dayo, I definitely do appreciate you, bro. I was definitely excited to reach out to you. I was definitely even more excited when you were willing, when you were very ready to be a part of it. When you were just like, "Yo, just shoot me," what's the
Yeah,
logistics, what's the availability, let's figure it out. So, whenever people can help further my vision,
yeah. I
I'm
literally had my
always grateful
wisdom tooth
for it, bro.
removed
So
yesterday, man.
continue to do. No, he told me. He said, "Look, I'm gonna hit you up." He said, "If I can talk," he said, "We'll talk." He said, "If I can't, then we'll just figure something out." literally texted me today, this morning. He said, I'm ready, bro.
That thing was nothing, man.
Good morning, by the way. So I said, yeah, I said, my man is ready. I said, look, he just
Yeah,
had the
man.
surgery, made everything happen. So, I'm glad for that. So definitely wishing you, a speedy, healthy recovery, but definitely wishing you, just luck with grad school,
Yeah,
with everything that you have going on, with furthering your vision and just everything. And I'm excited, bro. I'm excited to see, who you continue to bring on, the guests that you continue to, the brains, the minds that you
right.
continue to just pick and give us more knowledge and everything. So I love that. But I
No
appreciate you,
doubt.
first and foremost, for coming on here, for really making it happen, for giving my IG live some substance. Like I said, a lot of them were definitely resonating with you. We're definitely feeling what you were saying, and we're definitely, even I could tell they were very inquisitive about it. Definitely just some things we didn't know, and things we need to research. So to all my supporters, as I always say, man, I appreciate it. I love y'all wholeheartedly. To everybody who's going to be tapping into the IG live, to Dayo, it's nothing but love, man. But once again, this has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast. Here with Tamar Turner.